Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to see how to track our account balances and our day-to-day transactions in Microsoft Access. This is part one of an X-part series. I don't know how many. I haven't planned them all out, but we're going to make a bunch of them probably. Now, this video is meant to follow my Excel videos on account balances. So go watch this. Even if you only watch the beginning of part one, just so you get the gist of what this database is going to be for, why you'd want to use it. I don't want to repeat all that information here, so go watch that. I'll take the first 5 minutes and explain the whole point of this database. Basically, for your day-to-day transactions, so you can see your balances. It's not to replace your monthly reconciliation with your checking account, your credit card statements, that kind of stuff. It's just so every day you can take a look and see what your balances are, what your outstanding transactions are, and you don't run into a situation where, oh, I forgot about that, and then your account's $10,000 negative or whatever. All right, so go watch this first, even if you only watch part one, then come on back. Now, I am going to call this a developer video, even though in today's video, in part one, we're not going to do any programming. We're just going to set up the tables and a couple queries. But eventually we're going to be getting into some programming. So you can start building this if you're not a developer, and you can get some use out of it. But this is really going to be focused on development with some VBA programming once we get into the later parts. All right, probably as early as part 3, I'm going to guess, maybe. I don't know. I haven't laid this all out yet, so I'm not sure yet. So if you want to learn some VBA before we start the VBA in this series, go watch this, Intro to VBA. It's about 20 minutes long. Teaches you all the basics in about 20 minutes. And also go watch this video on aggregate queries. We're going to use this today to get a sum total for all of our transactions for each account. This is very important. Go watch this. And there's one more video I want you to, there's one more video. I'm not gonna ruin the surprise. I'm not gonna ruin the surprise. There's a quiz coming up, so I'm not gonna tell you what else to go watch. So all right, here we go. All right, I'm gonna start off by saying that I have not pre-planned this. Normally, I sit down and I run through the database once quickly in Access before I record a video for you guys. But in this particular case, I'm not going to. So the mistakes that I make during the video will be mistakes that you probably will make. So we're going to just make them together. Now, I opened up the Excel sheet in the actual Excel application instead of the web version, so I can look at it closer here. And we're going to need a couple of different tables. One, we're going to need an account table. Two, we'll need an account type table. Could you use a helper table for these things? Yeah, you could. But since this is going to be a very simple and small database, I probably wouldn't bother. We're going to need a transaction table for all this stuff. And I think that's it. I think just those 3 tables will probably work. These will be stored values. This and this will be calculated values. This we're going to store, but we're going to update it when the data is updated. So that will be fine. Let's see. As far as queries go, this will be calculated in a query. And let's see. I'm going to make a form for this and a form for this. And then we're going to load those both as subforms into a big parent form. So I can have these both side by side nice and easily. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll do it as 2 separate forms and I'll have this one open to the right of this one. We'll figure that out when we get there. But like I said, I haven't run through this yet. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, but because I still use an Excel sheet for this, for my day-to-day. And I've been wanting to make an Access database for myself. So as I make this, it's going to be for both you and for me. And so I'm going to probably want to add some cool stuff for myself. And if it's relatively easy stuff, I'll put it in the regular video. And if it's crazy, cool, fancy VBA stuff, I'll put it in an extended cut. Most of the first couple of videos are probably going to be mostly beginner or expert level stuff, but there's going to be code spread throughout. So that's why I said it's going to be a developer video. Now, the nice thing about Excel also is that Excel is really good for prototyping before you move to Access. A lot of the times, for my personal use, for my business, or for me personally, I will generally start something in Excel. And then once it gets to a point where I'm using it regularly, or it gets complicated, or I see there's going to be a lot of relationships for different things, Then I'll move it up to Access. But for really simple stuff, I'll keep it in Excel. But this is something that, for me personally, I got probably 40 different accounts and bunches of transactions. So I've been to the point where I've been wanting to move this to Access myself for about a year now. So but it's good to have, because we have a blueprint here right now in Excel for what I want it to look like. Okay? So that's a good thing. And you can do that with pretty much any project. You're going to start something. You just, throw it together quick in Excel. And then when you get it down, like, yeah, this is what we want, then you move it over to Access. Excel is sometimes easier to give you the big picture. All right, so I'm going to move this guy out of the way, slide it over here to the right. And I am going to use my tech help free template for this, not because I'm not going to use the customer and contact and all that stuff, but I got all the stuff in here that I like to have for most of my databases. So we're going to delete this stuff when we don't need it at the end. For those of you who follow along, I did change for my regulars who watch all my videos in order as they come out. I did make a new change. This is template version 1.93. It's available on the website on the template page under the blank template. And what I added was, and I covered this in a video a little while back, I added the stuff from this video. Remember this from a little while ago? Right? Checks to see if it's trusted, if you get the security warning, because sometimes people will email me, be like, yeah, hey man, I downloaded your database off the website, but it's telling me that it's, it's a security risk and blah, 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 right? All that stuff. So then I got to tell them, go watch this video, create a trusted location, blah, 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 right? So what I did was I got rid of this as being the startup form, which is under, again, file options, right? Current database. I set no display form, but I set an auto exec macro, okay? And that checks to see if the current project is trusted and it opens the main menu. If so, then the main menu's code can run. If not, it opens up not trusted F. All right, so not trusted F is this guy. And it pops this message up, which is a little more friendly for the user who doesn't really know what's going on. Looks like you're running from a not trusted location, all right? And you click on this and it takes you to that page. So hopefully this saves me from having to answer all those emails, except for all the people who have the older versions. But okay, anyways, total digression, total side point, but I know some of you follow every video and you want to know, hey, what's new in this newest version? I used to keep a table in here with the changes, but I stopped doing it. Okay, what are we doing? Oh yeah, account balances. Okay, so I'm going to close the main menu down. We're not going to use that. We're going to repurpose it later. Well, let's create the tables that we're going to need. So let's create table design. I like to start off with the bottommost level tables. So we're going to need an account type table, right? Account type ID, account type, and that'll be short text. And I can't think of anything else that's going to be needed for this. You can add notes and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's good. So just save account type T. Yes. All right, let's put some data in here. Now, I know in the other video I did just bank, but in my personal one, I keep checking and savings different. That's just me. If you want to put bank, that's fine. I don't care. Credit cards. I've got investments and loans, like mortgages. Because I like to know at any given time how much I've got available in checking, how much is in my long-term savings, and so on. Okay, so that should be good for that. We'll close that. Save changes, yes. Now we're going to create the account table. Create table design. Account ID. That's our auto number. The account name for text. The account type ID. That's going to be a number of type long integer. And I like to keep my IDs at the top, so I'm going to slide that up there. My first two things that I always think about in a table is always the auto number and then the name of that table, like whatever it is. But then I always remember, okay, yeah, I need a foreign key. So I always put it in there and then I slide it up. That's just because that's the order that my brain works in, that I remember it in. So you'll see me do that in a lot of videos. You may want to store an account number in here, which I'm going to make text also. Even though it says number, I know the bank's calling an account number. Usually it is just a number, but sometimes it starts with a 0, so you want to store it as text. Sometimes I've got some account numbers with letters in them from different institutions. Okay? And if you want to store a routing number in here, you can. Like for your checking account, savings account, whatever. For doing transfers and that. If you want to save your, CCV code and all that stuff, that's up to you. I'm not gonna. We're not going to get into the security aspects of Access here. Remember, Access isn't very secure. Even if you go through all the stuff in my security seminar, it's still only about 99% secure. So unless you're using SQL Server or some real server platform, I would be very careful about keeping financial data in Access. I mean, balances and account numbers and amounts, that's not really that big of a deal. But you start getting into security codes and stuff like that, well, it'd be an issue. I had one person, because I did a check register thing, and I used my actual checking number in my seminar the one time. And the guy was like, "Aren't you worried?" I'm like, "Not really, because anybody that you write a check to gets your routing number and account number, right? If I send you a check, you've got my account number. So if they use it fraudulently, I just contact my bank, which is one of the reasons I don't use checks that much." All right, now I'm going to stick with the same fields that I had before: credit, balance, pending. Those would be the three amounts you put in there. I mean, it's up to you if you want to use these same ones that I do. That's what I like. I've been using it for years, and so I'm going to stick with it. All right, credit, that's a currency. Balance is a currency, and pending is a currency. Now we've got the transactions and the actual balance, and that's going to be, those are calculated fields. We don't put those in the table. The date, we're going to put date updated. That'll be a date. That is going to be calculated, but I'm going to store that in the table because when the record is changed, we'll update it at that point. Okay? And you can put a default value. Actually, now I'm going to skip putting a default value in there because I might set up my accounts on one particular date, but I might not check them all right at first. So I want this to be the actual date that I verified with the bank or the credit card website that balance was correct. So I'm going to save that for that. Now we are going to add some fields later on. I like to have a minimum balance. I know I mentioned in the other video that's 500, but honestly, for me, it's different for several different accounts. Like one of my accounts, I want the floor to be 1,000. The one that I use a lot. Other ones I want to be different values based on that account. Some accounts I don't care that much about. I have a balance, a minimum of like 200. So we're going to make a field later to store that minimum. We'll do that in a future video. And for me personally, I also keep my upcoming expenses in an Access database. So I might add that to this. I'm not sure. I might make it a separate video. So I have another calculated field called need in 2 days, which says, hey, you've got these things coming up from your expected expenses in the next 2 days. So we'll see if maybe I might add that. I'm not sure. But I think for now, that's good. You're always going to have fields you're going to want to add later. That's just how it is. Save account T, primary key. Yep. And let's put some sample data in here. All right, I need my account type so I can see what they are. Let's just go with the same sample ones that I used over here. All right, so we've got, it's always better to build your forms with sample data. All right, so first is PayPal. It's a checking. I'm going to treat that as a checking account. PayPal. I don't have an account number for that or a routing number. Let's put 1,000 in it. And I have a pending of -20. And today's date. Same trick works in Access, by the way. Control semicolon. All right, next was regions checking. So that's a checking account. This. And I'll just put a sample, whatever. 444. Routing number. Okay. 1,500. And that's all for that. And this, by the way, will get filled in the form when we update it. Next, we have region savings 2. Again, some random numbers. 2,000. All right, what we got? Amex credit, so credit's 3. Platinum we'll put in here. Account number, it starts with a 3, right? Okay, your max. So credit for a credit card represents your maximum credit limit or your credit line, whatever that happens to be. Balance. Let's say I got 1,200 on that. Pending is 400. Okay. After that, we got the Fidelity. Whoops. IRA is going to be an investment. Fidelity IRA. I don't know what the account or whatever. Let's just put in here 10,000. And finally, the mortgage is a loan. And of course, if you have multiple mortgages, put on there what the property is, however you want to distinguish it. I have one, that's all. And let's put in here the balance is negative. And no, that's not my balance. I'm just putting in a balance. I wish that was my balance. Okay, so what do we got here? Okay, we got our accounts, our account types, all that's good. Now we're going to set up our transaction table. Keep this open for now. Oh, one thing I did forget from this table is my order, my custom sort order. Forgot about that. Sort order. Number. And I'm going to slide this. No, we'll just leave it there. We'll leave it. Save it. No, let's put it at the top. Let's put it at the top. Let's put it there. And we'll put our sort order in here. Now, these are in the order they're in now that I want. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to say for new items, let's make the default value. Well, we could set it something really high, like 1,000. Or you could flip this if you want, because you don't have to see this in Access, right? You do your custom sort order, you can hide this. And you could just make little buttons to move up and down how you want, if that's how you want to do it. I'll leave it like this for now. This is fine. I'm not gonna get too crazy in the first couple of videos. All right, but now we're ready for our transaction table. So create table design. This will be my transaction ID. We'll put our transaction name in here. And that's just, something you could type in whatever you want for that particular transaction, but you're still going to link it to an account. So account ID, that's your foreign key. We'll put our sort order in here. That'll be our number. And then the amount of the transaction. So amount. That'll be a currency value. All right, finally, let's add in here a date updated. That'll be a date. All right, save it. Close it, and we're ready to put some sample transactions in. All right, what do we got? Let's do the same ones we had over here. Now, when it comes time to actually make these, I'm going to make a form, a special form to add these, okay? That's going to have 2 spots on it. It's going to have a spot for the money coming out and the money going in. But for now, in the tables, we'll just put both of them in here manually. All right, so we got payment to Amex. Now here, the account ID. So now this is where Excel's different from Access. We need to know the ID, right? The account ID for Amex is going to be 4. And the sort order on this one, I don't use this one as much, but you can still keep it in here if you want to. I put a sort order in for ones where, like this, I'm going to keep these transactions on the screen all the time and then just add new ones down on the bottom. But these are the ones that I use a lot. But I'm even thinking, see, like I said, I haven't done this in Access yet. I'm even thinking I might not need this because these are just going to come in from the bottom and float up. And as they clear, we'll just delete these and we'll hit a button to add new ones. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works. And you know what? For now, I'm just going to ignore the sort order here, but the field's there. All right. So this was, let's make this, let's see, 150. All right. Payment. Here, this again, Access doesn't copy like that as easily. And the from account is regions checking. So that's going to be account ID 2. Yep. And we'll do 150 negative. Okay, transfer to IRA. And again, copy paste. Okay, so the from account is Fidelity IRA. That's going to be 5. And the to account, the to account is 5. The from account again is going to be 2. And let's say this was 500. All right, that's enough for now. Okay. All right, and the reason why I wanted to get these in here was because now we can build a query to calculate this transaction amount and then this guy here. Okay? Now, you might be tempted to use a DLOOKUP or a DSUM account or a formula inside your query, but it's better if you stick with aggregate queries. Trust me, it's just faster. For a database this small, where you only got maybe a few dozen records, it's not a big deal. But if you start getting into, thousands and thousands of records, it's going to slow down. Or if you're going over the network. And if this were an actual financial tracking database where I wanted to keep a history of all this stuff, I wouldn't just delete these transactions when they clear, right? If you're doing like a check register or whatever, you want to, like in my check register database, you want to click a box to show that it cleared instead of just deleting it. But again, this is just for a day by day. So I don't really need it for tracking historical transactions. If that's the case, if that's what you want, add a cleared checkbox, yes or no on here, and then just don't show the cleared stuff on your main menu, right? Now, a lot of times what I do in situations like this when I'm just starting to build a database, I will take screenshots of this stuff because as we go into making queries and forms, I don't want to have to stop and look up what the names of these fields and stuff were. So we got our account type, right? This guy here is easy. So I'm just going to screen capture this. Again, I'm using HyperSnap, but you can use Windows Snip if you want, whatever works good for you, right? Paste that in here. There's that. See, I'm just in Paint. Microsoft Paint comes with Windows, right? And then I've got my account table, which is this. Okay. And I'll drop that in here. There's my account table. And then my transaction table. Just so I've got it, I can visually look at it. Right? Paste that in here. Okay. And I'm going to slide this over. I got a big screen, sorry. I'm going to slide this over here so it's not in the way. And I can refer to it. I can just look at it while I'm recording. Okay. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see. Here's my Access database. This is the window I'm working on. There's my Paint where you can see all my stuff. And it's just right in my face. It's easier to see. I used to have 4 small monitors, and I recently upgraded to 1 big monitor, and I like it a lot better. So. All right, so now I'm ready to throw together that aggregate query. So we're going to aggregate the transactions based on the account ID, and we're going to sum up the amount. Then we're going to link that to this. Okay? So if you haven't done aggregate queries yet, go watch this video that I mentioned in the prerequisites. All right, I can close these since I got my little screenshot thingy over there. All right, so create, query design. We're going to be aggregating our transaction table. All right, group by the account ID. Let's go to query design, change this to a totals query, right? Group by the account ID, sum up the amount. Okay. Save that. Let's call this transaction total Q. Okay, run it. And there's each account and how much is in that particular account for transactions. Where's your transaction table? Right there. Right? Notice that account 2 is my checking account. That's got the money coming out of it. That's right. And then the other 2 have money going into it. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. And see how this is going to be a lot faster than using a dsum inside a query. Okay. Because the aggregate query just processes once. Dsum has to process once for each record. It's got to look through the whole table, every single record. Whereas Access processes an aggregate query internally a lot faster. And I'm going to change sum of amount here. Let's alias that. We're going to call that transaction total. That's just transaction total, amount. I don't like it when it says sum of amount. All right, that's perfect. Save it. I'm going to drop this on my little screenshot gallery that I got going on. All right, put this right down. All right, we'll paste it right there. Now I can take this transaction total, okay, make a query to link account T with transaction total T, and I can put over here that transaction total from this. All right, you ready? All right, create, query design. I'm going to bring in my account table and my query transaction total queue. Notice they're joined, account to account. All right, let's bring in all the fields from over here. I only like to bring in the star from one table. So over here, we're going to bring in transaction total. Now, this should give me a list of all my accounts with the totals for the ones that have transactions. All right, let's run it and see what happens. Okay, that's right, but I'm not seeing all of them. I see the transaction totals here are correct. All right, Regis checking should be 650. Why am I not seeing all of my accounts? Who knows? Take a second, think about it. If you know, post a comment down below right now what the issue is. I'll come back here so you can see. What is the issue? Why am I not seeing all of the accounts? Pause the video, post a comment if you know. Did you get it? All right, the answer is my join type. This is an inner join. An inner join means only include I can't talk today. Only include rows where the joined fields from both tables are equal. So in other words, for everyone over here, you have to have one over here. For accounts that don't have transactions, you're not going to see them. So we have to pick left outer join here, or left join. That puts a little arrow there. Now we'll see all of these and the transactions where they're matching. See, there's all my accounts. And the ones that are missing over here don't show up. I didn't list this in the prerequisites because I was going to quiz you on it in the middle of the video. Well, honestly, I didn't think of it before, but that's why it's not in the prerequisites now. Because normally I go back and re-record the intro after the video, but in this case, I wasn't planning on that, so I'm going to stick it in now. But it won't be in the prerequisites. So if you need to learn about outer joins, go watch this. You'll find a link down below in the link section. Now, you might want to see them even if they don't have a value. You might want to see a 0 there. That's up to you. You can throw an NZ around this. Like that. See? There's your NZ. But now it unformats it. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. Let's call this transaction. You know what we're going to do? Transaction total. Can't use the same name twice. Let's just call this X for now. And I'm going to say comma 0. And we're going to format this whole thing as currency. Format this, comma, currency. Let's see what this looks like. Okay. Notice, though, my numbers are still lining up to the left. I don't like that, because that tells me that this is still going to be treated as text. So instead of formatting it as a currency, we're going to convert it to currency. CCUR. Convert that to currency. Big difference. Hit OK. Run it. And now, let's see. Okay, now that's what I want. The reason why I've got the transaction total X is you can't use transaction total twice. I want this to be called transaction total here. So let's save this first of all. Account Q. And notice also, by the way, that once we link in that aggregate query, we can no longer add new records in here. Okay? That's a big deal. We'll deal with that later though. Transaction total X. I don't want that to be called that. So I'm going to go back to this transaction total Q. And let's get rid of that alias. Let's just call it amount. We'll deal with some of them out here because we're not going to see this amount here. Save that, close it. Go back to our account queue. Now, one nice thing about Access is it will change that automatically. So it puts some of amount in there, and now I can put this back to just transaction total, and that's what I want. There, that looks good. And notice how it's lined up on the right side of the cell. Let's call it the cell. The right side of the column, whatever you want to call it. It's a field in Access, I know. All right. Old habits die hard for Excel users, right? They'll always call this a cell. All right, but now that I've got this and I've got these, now I can calculate my actual balance. All right, right here. I'll zoom in for you. Actual balance is going to be credit plus balance plus pending plus transaction total. And the other ones should have zeros in them, so we shouldn't have to worry about null values there. Yep, that's good. These all have zeros in them. And there's our actual balance when all is said and done. And now I like to add this to my screenshot just so I've got this stuff in here. I don't usually bother with the stuff at the beginning because I know that's just part of the table. But now I got the account Q. And this is what we'll base the form on, where we can display all the account information. All right, so that's going to do it for today's class, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow we'll pick up where we left off, and we'll start working on the forms, I guess, right? No more queries that I can Yeah. Okay. But that's all. That's all for part 1. Again, tomorrow on part 2, we'll start working on the forms. Don't know how many parts there's going to be, but I got lots of stuff I want to do, so we'll see. That is going to be your tech help video for today. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you in part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.